Hello everybody, Peter the Rock. This is a very unusual occurrence. There are two barges entering the lock ahead of me, and they are side by side. They're actually tied together, and this is going to, it looks like there's only one chap in control of the left hand barge as we look at it. The chap in the grey hair on the right there is part of this crew, and he will be opening the lock gates, I think. Now he's putting it into reverse. I was wondering how quickly he was going to slow up, because they are coming at a fair speed, a good 1 or 1.5 miles an hour towards the lock gates, and luckily he's put the brakes on. Now both barges have Calor gas cylinders on them. I know there used to be, oh, he's shutting the gates now. There used to be Fran's Cafe used to be open, and I think Peter, the son of Fran, used to trade in things like Calor gas cylinders up and down the canal. Of course, they're used. It's the main source of cooking, I suppose, for the bargees, for the boaters. Anyway, we have a volunteer here winding up the release part of this lock, and soon you'll see the barges start to sink, and already they're going down. So that has been done on one side and is now being done on the other side to let the water out of the lock. Of course, the net effect will be that the barges will float this way, and as they are tied tightly together, there's no real problem with one getting lower than the other one, because that would be a disaster. You'd end up with a tipped over barge scenario. Just have a scan round. This, of course, is the Grand Union Canal, once upon a time known as the Grand Junction Canal. Goes all the way from the Thames up to Birmingham, or vice versa. There's a good a lot of Calor gas cylinders there. I would suggest probably 25 on each barge, and they are in pretty good condition. The woodwork is varnished over the cabin, and so they look after their boats. This is the crew here, I think, because obviously the chap operating the motor at the back has hopped off. Now over there are a couple of old lock gate levers, made redundant perhaps because they're a bit cracked, and of course people use them as a bench now to sit and watch the comings and goings in the lock. Now I don't know quite how long I've been filming this. It says 3 minutes 16 seconds, but I imagine 3 minutes of that has been the descent of the barges, so the lock empties pretty quickly. You can see how it's dribbling quite slowly now, although the pools of water are because of the channels from the lock basin into the lower part of the canal. Now what I'm looking at now ahead of me is technically called a puddle. Anybody who's ever rowed and has had aspirations to row properly in a pair of 4 and 8, they don't go up to 16s, and has been coached. Hello, they're opening the gates. It's going to be a bit tricky because there's not much room. Anyone who's rowed and been coached will know that the main catch of the oar, as you come forward, you twist the oar so that the blade is vertical, and then all together you chomp the blade into the water and push with your legs to go backwards so that the boat goes forwards. And the puddle you make, rather like that one I showed you earlier, shows the strength of the catch, or the chumph of the blade of the oar as it makes contact with the water and forces the water backwards, and therefore the boat forwards. I rowed for a while, and I used to produce a pretty good chump, but I don't want to boast. In fact, the styles of rowers are pretty similar, as you can imagine, because you've all got to be synchronized. My style was slightly different in that I perhaps attacked the water from a higher angle and was therefore given the nickname by our coach, Canon Noel Duckworth. You can look him up, he's quite famous. He was the cox for the Cambridge crew in the 30s. He was the cox for the England crew in the Munich Olympics, the Berlin Olympics, 1936. Canon Noel Duckworth, J. Noel Duckworth, he was my coach, and he nicknamed me Grasshopper. So that's a little vignette of my life as an oarsman for our College 8. I started off at number 3, which is near the front. Front end is bow number 1, and I was bow side, I was number 3, and I improved and became number 5 in the kind of the so-called engine room of the boat. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because my friend Ian, who has known me at school and university, has suggested that I put a few personal history things into some of my videos, and he suggested I visit old haunts. Now, a building will have not that interesting to my point of view, but perhaps how to row, what a chump is and what a grasshopper is, may be of some small wry interest. So those barges have gone through. You can see the top of the lock has got a kind of a table in it, and of course it's very dangerous to let the rear of your boat rest on that table because it's going to tip up. So usually warnings. If you want to see where the barges have gone, let's look at the lower part of the canal, and as you can probably see, there they go, Calor gas heading south. Of course, when you've got to motor and steer two barges, that dog is extremely thin. It's twice as difficult to steer, and because you've got twice the weight. So there we are, how two barges went through the lock, the Castleberry Park lock, on Sunday by Peter the Rock. Thanks a lot for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to. This is got number 77 on it. So if you want to look it up, it's got 77 on the other side. I imagine that's the lock number. If you're really interested, you could probably find it on a map or OS map or something like that. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Cheers.